Panasonic has had an extremely busy few months. First they announced their brand new flagship stills camera, the G9, and then they followed it up with the GH5S, another model aimed at videographers to their CSC lineup. This got a lot of people questioning what it would mean for their outgoing flagship model, the GX8, and its successor. Well, today those questions are going to be answered because Panasonic has just announced this camera, the GX9. Now Panasonic is calling this camera its premium street photo camera. So I'm here in Rome where I'm going to be using it to shoot just that, street photography mainly, and finding out what this new device is all about. Now I'm going to start this video by doing something which I never do, and that's to look at the handling of the device first. But there's a reason for that. This camera is much closer to the design of the GX7 than it is to its direct predecessor, the GX8. Gone is that big deep grip on the front. It's now a much more sleek and compact device, well suited for the street shooters that it's aimed at. The device's build now feels much more refined and higher quality than before too, shaking off the sometimes plasticky feel that past models have had. With the front dial gone and the shutter button moved from the grip to the top of the device, it's got a button layout much closer to that of the GX7 once more, but we've now got that exposure compensation dial under the shooting mode dial like on the GX8. There's a new focus lever for switching from manual to automatic modes on the rear of the camera as well. Other features that have returned from the GX7 are a pop-up flash and, perhaps more surprisingly, a tilt rather than a flip touchscreen. This display has an improved resolution of 1.24 million dots and it's nice and clear, but the reduced flexibility may disappoint some. The screen allows for menu operation, touch shutter, touch focus and focus point selection with the camera held to the eye, which is really useful for things like this street photography. Still setting the GX9 apart from other CSCs is its tilting EVF. This too has an improved resolution at 2.76 million dots and is a good alternative to the tilting rear display. So like the GX8 before it, this camera has a 20.3 megapixel live MOS micro four thirds sensor. However, like the G9 and the GH5, it has no anti-aliasing filter, which is going to result in sharper images. This sensor, paired with a Venus engine processor, should also offer improved noise handling across the device's 200 to 25,600 native ISO range. Okay, it's not a true low-light monster and it doesn't have some crazy resolution like some devices, but for enthusiast street shooters, it's going to meet all of their demands. While the GX8 was capable of 8 frames per second with its mechanical shutter and focus locked on the first shot, the GX9 can capture an improved 9 frames per second, while both can manage 10 frames per second with electronic shutter. With continuous focusing active, both cameras can produce a burst at 6 frames per second, comfortably fast enough to cope with most everyday subjects. The camera will buffer after around 40 RAW files or 100 JPEGs. Now this camera can shoot 4K at 30 frames per second or Full HD at 60 frames per second. However, unlike the GX8 before it, Panasonic has removed the audio input that was on the side. So this is going to mean that this camera is great for getting a few clips if you're out and about, but it's really not designed for videographers. There's no headphone port either. So So this camera, just like the GX8 before it and just about every CSC and DSLR that's entering the market at the moment, has Wi-Fi for remote shooting control and wireless image transfer, but the device has now also got Bluetooth Low Energy. And what this allows you to do is to establish a connection with a Panasonic image app on a smart device and automatically transfer your JPEGs across and geotag images without having to do it all manually. So I've spent the day shooting street photography with the GX9, and I have to say that I've really enjoyed using it. Not only is it Panasonic's best looking camera in my opinion, but its performance really does feel like it's been fine-tuned for this kind of work. Now, its smaller size is going to mean that if you have an investment in longer lenses and you normally shoot things like sports and wildlife, you're probably going to want to look at the G9 still. The GX9 is not going to be the model for you, but if street photography is your thing, this could be a great option. For more information about the GX9, visit wex.co.uk.